Okay, just want to make sure we're live, not like Friday. I don't know what I did. Okay, so firstly, I want to thank Aleeza Ben Shalom, who agreed to come on today on such an important day, day of Tu B'Av. As we all know, her words are incredibly important in the days that we're living in, and and all her Torah and all her advice, everything she's saying should be a schus for all those out there who are searching and who are having difficulty, and all those who are out there and searching and finding. It should be a schus that we should be able to build families quickly, all for the sake of the Shekhinah, and to build beautiful homes of Kedusha and Torah and children, Bezrat Hashem, and everybody should have children, Bezrat Hashem. Aleeza Ben Shalom is a renowned matchmaker, dating coach, author, sought-after speaker, and soulmate clarity expert who empowers marriage-minded singles to find and identify the one. She guides them from uncertainty and overwhelming to the clarity needed for confident decision-making regarding their potential life partners. Aleeza is the featured matchmaker of the Netflix series Jewish Matchmaking. She is also the host of the podcast Matchmaker. To date, she has successfully helped over 200 people get under the chuppah and has trained over 350 matchmakers and coaches. Aleeza believes we must secure our Jewish future through making more marriages. And on that, I'm going to go off, Aleeza, and I'm going to give you, there you are. Thank you, Aleeza.
Hi, thank you so much. So happy to be here with everybody. Hello, if there's any, I know there's at least one friend here that I know. Hi, and thank you all for being here, and hi to the larger international community. Today is Tu B'Av, and Tu B'Av every day has a different mazel, right? We have every week, we've got Shabbat, we have a certain mazel and a certain bracha that comes down. And today we have a certain mazel and a certain bracha with shidduchim. And I hope that all of our words, all of our tefillot, and all of the learning that we're going to do today should be a zchut and a merit for each and every one of us who is searching for somebody else, for ourselves, or for the klal. So with that, today we're talking about building a supportive dating community. Now, I think in shidduchim, right? And now I'm going to make a differentiation between shidduchim and matchmaking, okay? Shidduchim is what the frum community has always known and done. And the amazing thing is that after thousands of years, our tradition caught on. And the modern world and the modern community is very excited about matchmaking, which is a tremendous, tremendous bracha. It's the biggest blessing because everything that we've tried to do has finally expanded, and now matchmaking isn't just this ancient tradition that, Abraham back in the day sent Eliezer to find a wife for his son, right? It's not just history, right? It's present day, and it's not just the religious Jewish community, it's the secular community that's also jumping on board as well. But as we have growth and expansion in this incredible world of shidduchim, we also have challenges. And one of our greatest challenges is, how do we create a loving, wonderful, and supportive community? Because I'll tell you what I'm noticing and what I see in my heart of hearts, right deep down. I know I have emunah, I have bitachon. Yes, there's the one, there's somebody out there for me, for my daughter, my son, my uncle, my neighbor, my best friend, my brother, my sister, right? There's somebody out there for them. I know that, right? It's almost like I know it. It's buried in there. And then on the surface level, when we come to shidduchim and matchmaking, chas v'shalom, we don't want to miss out. Somebody could take their person, right? And all of a sudden, instead of building a supportive, loving community, we kind of build this whole wall around us where it's like, no, me against the world. I got to get to them first, right? As if they weren't designed. It wasn't like by design they are for me. It wasn't like they are coming to me through my effort, through my avoda, through everything that I'm doing. It's almost as if I forgot that this person is here and they are for me. The other thing that we forget is that we've seen people married. There's sometimes divorce. There's sometimes people who lose their spouse or are widowed, and we see people get remarried, right? So this concept of the one, there's only one. I talk about this in a loving way. I say, how many soulmates will you have in a lifetime? I don't know. How many times you're going to get married, right? But you can only have one at a time, right? So you might have one, and if there's a divorce or if you lose somebody, God forbid, then you have the opportunity to be brought to another soulmate. There is another person that is there for you. You have the ability. If we break the word down in English, okay, and I'm not taking the Hebrew word, I'm taking the English word just to get to the pshat of this, just to the most simple, basic understanding. Soulmate, soul, right? It's this spiritual part of us. It's the essence of who we are. It's the everything. But mate, it's this physical person. We come down this neshama into a goof, into a body in this lifetime, and we have to find that neshama in that goof for us. And it's nothing short of a miracle every single time it happens. But what we need more than anything is a supportive and a loving community effort. It has to be one for all and all for one, not just that I only take care of my people. So something I like to do, if we can put on our shidduch glasses for a minute, as we look into the world, as we look into our community, we are all constantly meeting people that are not married, constantly. Older, younger, from any country, speaking all different languages. I have met people from all over the world, from 18, younger, right? Younger than 18, you're single before them, but let's call it marriageable age, 18 through 120. I have people in their 70s, their 80s, their 90s. They said, I'm still looking for love. Do you know somebody? Do you know somebody who knows somebody? A story that I heard recently that I was so inspired by, a woman said, Aleeza, I followed some of your dating wisdom. I have a phrase, which by the way, I'm gonna clarify this for you. It's called date 'em till you hate 'em. I don't really want anybody to ever hate anybody. It happens to be very catchy. People don't forget it and they follow it. They give themselves a chance and they give somebody else a chance in the dating process. And I don't mean date them till you hate them. What I mean is, if you don't hate them, if this isn't like, ugh, not for me, then date them. Give them a chance. Give them an opportunity. If it's not a no, it's just a yes for another date. So this woman who's in her 70s said to me, Aleeza, I'm dating somebody right now, and I wasn't so sure how this was going to work out. I said, how did the match get made? His mother. His mother said, I was saying, oh, I'm looking for somebody. And I happened to be in a community and his mother was there. And she said, oh, well, my son's looking for somebody. And she said, oh, well, I don't know. Tell me about him. The mother made the match. I think she's in her 90s. She made the match. She made the match. And why should it be dating shidduchim that it's just for the 20s or the 30s? Shidduchim matchmaking is not about only making the future of the Jewish people, the children, the babies to come. It's also bringing the people here that are already here, the generations that exist with or without children. We are bringing together beautiful families. And it's our obligation, each and every one of us. I don't have to tell you, I'm preaching to the choir with this crew, but this is our obligation, not just us. I think that everybody in the world has an obligation to help create community. And you do that by creating families. And every individual family that we are creating creates a larger and larger community. Now, what's better than a community? A supportive community, right? Who wants a community that's just a community? It's just my people. That's nice. How about a supportive community? How about a loving community? How about a community where we're looking out for each other and not just for like our own small group of people, but as we meet people, our community expands. How about a community where we have no judgment, where we have a place, not just where I'm not judged, right? To walk somewhere, to be with a group of people where I don't feel judged. That's level one. I'm happy. That's good. Don't judge me. I'm me. You're you. That's wonderful. How about acceptance? Acceptance, accepting who somebody is, accepting where they're at, accepting what's happening in their lives. How many of us know people that are not where that we are at? Maybe they're off the derech, they're in a different direction, they're going a different way, they're moving at a different speed. Maybe they're moving much slower than we want or we would expect. But non-judgmental, okay. But loving and accepting who you are. If I can accept who you are, I can better love who you are. If I can love who you are, then I can be supportive to who you are. And the more that I can support you, and the more that I can help you, the better you can be. And I don't know what the outcome's going to be, right? Wherever we are today on the spectrum of who we're becoming, right? We have the ability to go up the ladder or we have the ability to go down. We always want to be going up. The only way to go up is if we have a supportive community. The only way to go up is if we have a loving community that is there for us. And what we know most of all is that we have to teach every child according to their way, not my way, not your way, their way. And the question that I have is, what is their way? Whoever they are, wherever they are in life, in shidduchim, what do they need? I was once working with a client and he was really struggling. And he said to me, I don't know what to do. My family is here. They're a little bit more to the right. And I'm somewhere here in the middle or in the middle, maybe leaning a little bit more to the left. We're not the same. I said, okay, what are you looking for? Describe to me this person you're looking for. So he said, like this, and he described everything to the right. And I said, oh, very interesting. You know, you told me your family's like that, but you said that you're not so much like that and you're different. So let me ask you again, what are you looking for? And he said, this is really hard. It's very hard for me to separate who I was and who I am. And I know who I am now, but who I was is also so much a part of me. I said, great. Well, we've got past, we've got present, and we've got future. Who do you want to be? I don't care, right? I'm not judging. I don't have a preference. This is your life. I want you to go up on the ladder, whatever that means to you. What does taking a step up mean? What does taking a step into yourself, who you are, mean? What do you need? He said, well, I love my family. I'm just different. I said, great. Then let's find you who's more similar to who you are and not who's similar to who your family is. And we'll have to work out how you integrate, how you build that relationship, how you build that connection and keep that connection with your family because you love and respect them so much. And let's also love and respect who you are and the family and everything that you want to build. And this was the first time that when he went into shidduchim, he started looking for what he was looking for, what he genuinely desired. And he ended up finding it. And it was the biggest blessing. And we talked about how to integrate with the family. And thank God from the last that I heard that they have had a beautiful relationship. They've been able to integrate and they know who they are and they know who the family is. And each one is respecting and loving the other, right? We don't have to like it. You don't have to like where somebody's at. You don't have to like the journey that they're on, but we have to love them. In the same way that if somebody has a behavior, right? You, I love. That behavior, no thank you, right? That doesn't work for me, right? Don't do that. Don't treat me in that way. But you, the person, I love. So we don't have to love everything that everybody does, but we have to love the person behind it. The behavior, okay, maybe we have a difference of opinion. Maybe we can agree to disagree. But the way to building a beautiful, supportive community is by understanding, by accepting, and by tapping into who somebody is and saying, I get you. Now let me help you. Let me meet you where you're at, right? Let me teach you and support you according to your way, according to your needs. Now I want to take to shift for a minute. I want to shift because we're talking about creating a supportive community. And the subtitle to this program is how to find a love that lasts. Okay. Now, the secret to finding a love that lasts or helping somebody else to find a love that lasts, if you're somebody that is married, then you need to be an example of a loving relationship that lasts, not a lasting relationship. okay? Because there's lasting relationships and there's loving relationships that last. And those are two very different things. We're married. We've been married for, you name it, 20, 30, 50 years. Yep. Are they happy? I don't know. If I don't see it on your face, if I don't see it, the joy within your home, I don't see it. You want to be married? Like, anybody who's married, we are the salespeople, the marketing team for marriage. Why should anybody else even bother to try to build a family, to build the community, when we don't always see the most beautiful, loving examples, and it's very hard. And so I want to challenge anybody who's married to take on the responsibility of first building your own love that lasts, bringing something new into your relationship. Even if we're married 21 going on 22 years. And somebody said, well, you look happy. I said, well, I'm a happy person. I have a happy disposition. Don't let me fool you. Marriage is a lot of work, but yes, I'm happy. I want to be married. I like being a married human being. I enjoy this. And it's work. I'm not going to say it's not work. It's not, some people maybe have an easier relationship. My husband and I, we both have strong personalities. So we have a strong relationship where we work it out. But if we aren't an example of a love that lasts, why would anybody even want to strive for it or try for it? And we have a very big challenge in this generation because there is a large rate of divorce. And right now, especially with war, there's a large rate of loss. And we have many relationships and loves that haven't lasted over a full lifetime. Or this is the lifetime, but it's not the other person's lifetime. And so we have to give them hope and support and encouragement that this happened and it could also happen again. Whether it's for the first time or the second time or beyond, everybody has the ability not just to find, but really to build a love and a relationship that lasts. And I think the foundation of everything that I'm speaking about rests on how we treat one another, kindness, being authentic to who we are, recognizing who somebody else is, loving behaviors, ways that we connect with other people, and again, accept other people of who they are and where they're at. And also making sure that we're really seeing people. Modern day, we see people a lot less. Even though you think you see people more, you might see people online or through social media. You might see them through video, but literally seeing somebody, I'm not talking about looking at them. I'm talking about looking inside, because this generation is hyper-focused on the outside. So much so that we have artificial intelligence. You don't even know who's who anymore. If you read a resume that somebody wrote and put together, did they put it together or did AI put it together? I don't know. And the only way to know who or what we're seeing is to actually connect, to get on a phone call, to meet in person, and to reach out to somebody to find out who they really are. I want to share two more things, and then I'd really like to open up the floor to any questions or comments or anything about dating, love, relationships, anything that I can support the community with. One is giving people the benefit of the doubt. So I grew up secular and I became observant in my mid-20s. When I got married, I said, that's it. Na'aseh v'nishma, I'm in. I don't know all the rules, but game on. Shabbos is the meaning of life. Hashem runs the world. I got it. Covering head, shoulders, knees, and toes. No problem. Like, check. This is it. I'm in. Game on. And that's how I joined, within Judaism. And over the years, I'm still holding, right? I am who I am. So recently, and I'm just going to tell you a personal example. Recently I got, and this happens to be a lace top wig, which is the new modern thing. I'm not into modern. I'm not into fashion. I'm not into makeup. I'm just into love. But whatever. I got this, and I had tons of questions online because I try to promote and help people, machazek them through social media. And I got questions. Oh my gosh, what happened? How come you're not covering your hair anymore? Now, the for me people know what you're doing, right? But the rest of the world wants to know what happened. Why are you not doing the things you do? What happened to your wig? I said, no, this is a wig. It's just a different one. It's and why would you do that? There's so much misunderstanding, so many questions, so much judgment surrounding these things. Now, I want to tell you a second thing that happened. So I wrote a book that's called Matchmaker. Find me a love that lasts. I happen to like that line. And it's coming out in December. It's on pre-sale right now. And I want to show it to you because I want to see if you can notice this, because this was the second issue. This is me with my wig. This is my other wig, right? And this is my top. And this, it might be hard to see, so I'm going to bring it in closer. I'm wearing a shell, okay? It's kind of like a beige, darker camel colored shell. And I didn't realize at the time, I have to tell you, I like matching people, but I really don't like matching clothes. So I like easy, you put it on, it just matches. Why do I like wearing a wig? Because I don't have to find a tickle that matches the color. It's like too much effort for me. I just don't like it. So I happened to be wearing that. This was one of the photos that I had in the photo shoot. But what I didn't realize at the time was it has like a skin tone look. And so people were concerned. Oh my gosh, what? Oh, we can't show your book. It's not sneeze, it's not modest. I said, what are you talking about? They said it's open here in the front. I said, no, that's a shell. And then I looked at it, I went, oh my gosh, right? You're right. It like gives off the impression that it's not. And that wasn't what was meant to be. So why am I telling you this? Because far too often, I think that we jump to conclusions, okay? And I think that we are not giving people the benefit of the doubt. We're basing something off a resume. We're basing something off what one person said, some one little thing that caught our eye. That's it, the shidduch's off, the whole thing's out. And I'm not so sure that that's the right way to go about it without doing a little bit more due diligence. I don't mind to call something off. I don't even mind to say no before it gets started, as long as we've done our homework and as long as we have enough data and information to say, okay, I spoke to the right people, not just one human being, but the right people, and this doesn't seem appropriate, and to do that. So I just want to encourage us to create a supportive and a loving community, to create a community that genuinely accepts all of the people that are in our lives, and to help us to go from where we are today to matching people over the ages and stages, because Lador Vador, from generation to generation, matchmaking will never go out of style. This is a thing forevermore. We will never, maybe until the days of Moshiach, but we will, until then, we will always need to have people heavily involved in shidduchim and making matches.
Aleeza, so amazing. But I have a few things that I know people are going to start raising their hands. So there's very, very interesting. First of all, that was fantastic. But firstly, you brought out a point that was very, very interesting that made me think. And you said that we have to be an example in our own marriages. And maybe that's one of the things that is affecting a lot of singles being afraid to make commitments today, is the inyan of not seeing healthy relationships within their own homes. I never thought of that, right? Because everybody talks about this is a generation. A lot of people, a lot of boys specifically, have very difficulty in committing, and you see this a lot. So that's one thing that I thought was very, very fascinating that I never really thought about. But I have a few things that I want to ask you. So I grew up from, and in my day when we grew up from, we met naturally. We just met naturally, right? Like when I met my husband, I didn't know what family he came from, right? I didn't know how much money he had, if any, right? I didn't know. We were groups of people, we met, and he was a great guy, and he's still a great guy.
Right.
And that's the way it was. And every one of my friends, and we did not have this difficulty that we have today. We did not, right? All my friends got married. It was never an issue. You didn't need to be vetted to see what the medical things in the families were, and right. if there was about tshuva or this, it was not something we ever, right? And it's so interesting because I want to bring out a few points. Number one, since the vetting process has occurred, if you'll notice, there's way more divorces than there's ever been. So on one hand, people are saying we have to vet, we have to check. And yet this checking has not really solved the problem. If you look at it, it's even more. And I just want to say something, I don't know where this whole thing has happened. I've watched it over the years. I've seen it with different communities, et cetera, et cetera. But I delivered somebody's blanket the other day to a seminary, and I picked it up from a 20-year-old girl. And she was at McMaster University, either going for medicine, whatever, 20 years old. And I said to her, how do you guys feel? And she said, it's really hard. She said, there's so much stress. There's all this conforming. Everybody feels that they have to conform. And everybody thinks that they have to be somebody else than who they are. And so I want to bring out a few points. One of the points is that maybe this vetting that we've created and this conforming of almost taking away people is not allowing people to be their authentic selves. And subsequently, because they can't be their authentic selves, they're getting married, right? They're getting married not being who they really are, because everybody thinks that they have to be something else in order to do this. And then they get married, and then all of a sudden they become who they are, and it's not working out, right? But what I'd like to know, it's like, is that we have to bring back the concept of truth back into the shidduch world. And what I mean by that is that, we had last week, this Sherelle Karofkin speak, and Marcella's on. And, I watched her grow up. And when I watched how incredible she spoke, of course, I connected to what she was speaking about. But more so for me was the validation that you cannot judge a 15-year-old, and you cannot judge an 18-year-old, and you cannot judge a 20-year-old, because what you develop to become is something as you grow. And what's happened in the shidduch world is that we are judging people based on what they are at that moment, right? Or what they were 5 years ago. This whole idea of what seminary you went to. You could have gone to a seminary 6 years ago, and there will be guys or girls who will still look at where you studied. And it's almost like it's insane, because it's such a lack of development of the self that you're thinking about these things. And how did we get to this point, Aleeza? How did it get to this, that we've almost want AI generated human beings, right? How many hours you learn, what seminary, how you look, what kind of shoes you wear, what you're this. How did we get to this? What brought us to this point? And when are we going to get out of this craziness? It's almost like we create it, and then we sit and we have to create all these talks and everything in order to correct all the mistakes that we've made. And then we say it's God, or we say it's the generation. And so I just wonder, what brought us to this point? What brought us to this point that girls actually feel that they can't be who they are, that they have to conform, that they have to lose their personalities because they have to be certain things? When did we give over the power to the boys? When have we started disrespecting the girls? When did we start doing that? And when did we make the mother so involved that these boys almost don't have, I don't know, they almost don't have their own sense of who they are? So I want you to answer that very loaded question. Aleeza?
Nothing but the lightest thing for Tuba. Thank you. What I think is that over the generations, first of all, education came to be something that's extremely important. We value it almost more than we value yichus at this point, right? Your yichus, okay. But if that's not good, like, we need to make sure, did they go to a good seminary, a good yeshiva, and not just the family, but like there's a certain thing about education and who they are and where they're at. And there became a standardization that started to happen. Somehow, as the world got larger and we were able to go outside of our little shtetl and to match according to much, much greater distances, the larger that our pool got, the smaller that it became, because we had to narrow it back down, because now the whole world was open to us. So now we had to say, okay, not from this family and not from this education system and not from like this. And we have so many more things, right? Back in the day, how many women went to seminary? Way back. Let's go back.
Right.
When
Right.
when did seminary develop? Even yeshivas, there's always a yeshiva, but like at a certain point, a yeshiva that has a good name versus a yeshiva that doesn't. Like, when did such strong differences develop? Follow the history, and you'll see when things started to shift. And the truth is that it's in our hands right now. This minute today, we can all, how many of us do we have on this call? We have over 100 people on this call, over 100 people, and who knows who's watching live. We all can make a decision today. We're not going to operate like that moving forward. If we don't do it, it won't happen. If
Right.
100 people take this on and decide that this isn't how we're going to operate and we're going to do this differently, we have the ability to make a new decision today. Should we decide? We don't just have to say, oh, that's the system, it's just what it is. Nope, I don't like it. We're going to do something different. This isn't acceptable. This isn't working. We're not, some people say it just shouldn't be so hard to find my person. I said, listen, I'm not manufacturing your person in the basement, like the ideas that we have that a person has to fit into who and what we want. But on the other hand, right? If you have a box of milk, let's talk about a box. You have a box of milk and you smell it. If it's spoiled, don't drink it. It's a sign. God gave you a nose. It's not for you. It's not for you. So God gave us eyes and God gave us ears, right? He gave us all these senses so that we could evaluate who's matim for us, because not everybody should we say yes to. I couldn't just go up to anybody in the world and go, oh, I picked you, I'll marry you. I mean, I could marry them. I just couldn't live with them, but you could marry anybody you want. You just couldn't stick with them forever. So on one hand, we have to make a decision. We have to have a skill set and tools to make a decision. And at the same time, let's not shoot ourselves in the foot and ruin the whole process and make it a really painful process. So I think if 100 of us today make a decision, we want to do something different, maybe one thing, whatever it is, different. And don't tell me no photos, because that's a whole, the whole world exists on photos. If you're not online, you've worked really hard to stay offline. But I think that if we all make a decision that we want to do something different in Shidduchim, then we just do it. And we say, no, this is how we do it now. And this is what it is, whatever it is. So I think we have to take a little bit of the power back in our hands and say, we have the ability every day to make a new decision and a new choice about what to do. Not just to say, this is how it is. I guess I'll just have to learn how to operate in the new model. No, I don't like this model. We're making the new model. We're running this ship.
Right.
We're the shepchanim. We're the matchmakers. We're the singles. We're the people of this generation that demand that we do it differently. It shouldn't be done like this, because it doesn't feel right. The other thing that I notice modern day is that there is a large separation between men and women. So modern day, how are they going to meet? You met your husband. You just met him because that's what people did, because they had the ability to do that. How did you just meet him? Because unless there's parties set up for people, people aren't just meeting. It's not as casual. Everything is actually separated on purpose. Like the boys are in the freezer. There's literally a term for going, you're not dating, you're separated, you're kaput, you're out of commission, which is fine. It's appropriate. We're not supposed to date until we should date, and there should be an awareness of when. But where's that balance between the mixing and the mingling of men and women so that they actually could meet? So they had the possibility to meet in a more organic or natural fashion instead of just being set up through a system that is really being challenging for them.
Because you know what it is, Aleeza, and I'm going to let other people come in a second, and Aline wants to speak. But I think what it is there's been so much fear created, right? There's been so much fear created. Like if you speak to these girls, and it's getting worse, like if you go into the YU Stern girls and you speak to them, the atmosphere has become so toxic because it's all fear. So everybody's afraid to do something differently, because if you do something differently, these girls feel at the age of 19 and 20 already, they're feeling like this.
And wait,
You
I
know
have
what I
to
mean?
tell you, I love when people do things differently because here's
Right.
a story exactly why. I know this story. I was working with the girl and her resume, along with several others, were submitted, and a boy was reviewing a couple of the resumes. Now, hers was a little bit unique. She not just put all the standard info with all the phone numbers and a few details about schools and family. I said, listen, I want you to just put a small paragraph about who you are and a small paragraph about what you're looking for. How else will he know who you are? Because all those details, it's not enough data. It's data about your life. It's not data about you. How will he know you?
Right.
Thank God. He read through the resumes and he said to his shadchan, this one, the one that I was helping her, he's like, I don't know if the other ones are appropriate or not. I don't have enough information about them, but I know what she wrote sounds like it's like me and it sounds like what I'm looking for. Let me go out with her. If that doesn't work, you'll help me figure out about all these other people. So modern day resumes, depending on what community you're from, some literally have nothing but a person's name, age, education,
I
family
know.
background. We know nothing about them. Nothing. Nothing. How is it helpful? How does that work to actually make a match? And this obviously this match went to chuppah. It worked. He never had to look at the other resumes, but she shared who she was. And we talked to her Rebbitzin, and she was very far to the right, and she said we modified exactly what she wrote, what she said, but she approved it. We got the approval for that to be on the non-standard shidduch resume, and that's what made her match.
Right. Right. Eleni, you want to go ahead, Eleni?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Aleeza. Thank you, Nomi, as always. Aleeza, quickly, I'd like to ask from your opinion, your experience, what do you see as one of the main contributors to the young couple divorce rate?
I don't think that we have enough, they don't have enough skills to be married, and they haven't seen, again, enough happy, healthy marriages. So they know they should get married, they desire marriage, they get into marriage, and then they hit a roadblock. And instead of it being, like you fall and you pick yourself up like a 2-year-old, and you fall and you cry and you brush your knee and, oh, you have a little scab, it's okay, you pick yourself up. They don't know how to pick themselves up, so they pull themselves out. And I think what we need to teach are conflict resolution skills in order that couples, and they should fall. You should fall a lot. If you're going to be married, you should fall a lot. You're going to get all banged and bruised. Your skin's not going to look good, right? It's going to be messy. That's life. But you should be able to pick yourself up more gracefully. And it's almost like it's not up, down, up, down, up, down. It's almost like an escalator that goes up, right? Okay, you fell, but you're a little bit higher than you were the last time. Oh, you learned something from the last time and you realized, oh, that's our pattern. Like I'm married almost 22 years. My husband and I, we have a thing. I'm like, oh, that's that thing. What thing? I'm like, no, that thing that we do. I don't like that. Okay, well, change it. Okay, hold on. All right, I don't know what to do. Like, give me a day, give me 24 hours. Let me think about it. But recognizing patterns, seeing what we're doing, how we get in each other's way, helps us to get up a little bit more gracefully. And people need conflict resolution skills. That's number one. And number two, Dr. John Gottman and Julie Gottman from the Gottman Institute talk about this. 69% of all problems will never be solved. Never, never. So 31% you could work on, and 69% you're done. Just it exists. Learn how to manage living with whatever that is, because it can't be solved and it will never be solved. And almost 70% of all problems will never be solved, and we can live with each other for a lifetime. So I think it's really important that we know how to handle challenges. It's like driving in the dark, okay? If I'm driving in the dark and I don't have any headlights on, I'm going to get in an accident. If I turn my headlights on, how far in front of me can I see? 10 feet, 20 feet? Not so far. But that's what I need to go 300 miles. It doesn't matter. I only need to see that far in advance. So stop trying to solve all your problems down the road and handle today, right now, this minute, this next hour, this next day. And if we do that, then we can get to the next one and the next one and the next one.
Wouldn't you say, Aleeza, it's also because it ties into the concept of this is a generation that everything is externals. So because there is so much externality in everything, and that's the way almost we're picking on some level. We're picking people based on this external sort of thing. So when they come to marriage, and it's almost when it becomes panemius, they can't deal with the panemius because everything is almost it's almost like set up that it's external. Do you see what I'm saying?
I think that there's a lot of modern challenges that we have, but I think that we've always been a body and a soul, and we've always had this internal and external side of us that we're always trying to manage. I think there's a lot more coming at us today than ever before. You know, you wake up in the morning, you have your phone. How many people, what's the first thing you do? Does your phone go in your hand first, or you actually say Modeh Ani? Like, does the rest of the world come into your bedroom, or do you actually talk to God first in the morning, right? It's a real question. It's a real question. So how much do we have the ability to focus on it? We also have the ability to focus on it so much more. How much more Torah and learning and books and wisdom and shiurim are going on all the time. Like, to focus on the inside, if you wanted to do that, you have every resource at your fingertip. Where you had to go run and chase it down before, literally you have any hour you can learn Torah at any point in time and be on with dozens of people.
Right.
And at the same time, we have the greatest challenge of it also being a very physical generation. So I actually think that we have more of a balance. We have a heavy internal and a heavy external, and we're not somewhere in the middle where they're both balanced out a little bit more. I think we lean towards one extreme or the other, and I think it's our job to create that balance.
Right. Chaya, go ahead, Chaya.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Everything you're saying is excellent, of course, but I just want to add something really important that I've noticed is very strong. I mean, I'm not a youngster, and I've been through life, and I've been through. I'm in a second marriage, so I can tell you that there's something very strong about Chachmas Nashim Bansa Besa, which is very much. There's a non-Jewish woman, Laura Doyle, that wrote this book. Maybe many of you may know, the Empowered Wife. And I'm telling you, when women learn what men are all about, and if women would be taught how to deal, what a man is, and what how to have a relationship with that opposite gender, then magic happens. And I'm offering to coach people with that because I feel like it's such a powerful thing. See, this woman interviewed 15,000 marriages to find out exactly what it is that creates a good marriage. And she came up with these incredible 6 skills, intimacy skills that teach women how to create their marriage. And I think that's such a powerful thing. If this would be much more widespread, and if people would be willing to coach people who do know it, I've seen it work incredible miracles in my marriage. Even if though my husband is not so well, but I've seen miracles. I think it would resolve a lot of divorces. So I'm willing to support and volunteer coaching for anyone who wants to try to improve their mentally healthy marriage. In other words, if there's a serious mental illness or something, I've noticed it's not going to work. But otherwise, it's miraculous how we can improve marriages and stay married. And but we need to learn. Women need to learn how to do this. I used to think it's the man's job. No. It's the woman's job. Men need to learn what they need to learn, but we really have a powerful tool. So I just wanted to add that.
Wow. Do you know about that, Aleeza? Have you
Yes.
seen that book, The Empowered Wife?
I have. It came out many years ago, and when it first came out, there was a lot of raw and a lot of Torah support, and I've seen just a little bit more of both sides modern day, where it's not take everything, that there's a lot of goodness that's there, but it's not Torah. So just, read wisely and pull the Torah out and the rest leave.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree. Great.
Does anybody else have any questions? Please feel comfortable. Anybody would like to ask? I see somebody.
I have a
Go ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
So it's Tu B'Av today, and traditionally it's the day that women are supposed to initiate with men, but popular culture says that women should wait for the man to initiate. So what do you have to say about that subject?
I'm very much in favor of the woman initiating with the man. I've seen it happen many times, and the men have all said to me, because I ask them, I go back and forth. I'm like, what do you think about this? What about that? They're like, I would love to know that somebody's actually interested, because if I always have to make the offer or make the bid and I get turned down, it's like, I feel inhibited to go try again because I know they're just going to say no 90% of the time. If they're interested, I might be more likely to give them a chance, even if I'm not, this isn't like, didn't come to my mind first, but if they show interest, I might be more likely to say yes. I've also worked with a matchmaker and a coach. Somebody works on my team and works with Salyat Sinai, Kim Solomon. And she says when the man sees, like when it's an online dating situation, that she says yes first, same thing, that he's much more likely to say yes. It doesn't always happen. Of course, there's plenty of no's, but when somebody already says yes, then you're much more likely to give it an opportunity. So I would say go for it, and if you don't, somebody else will. So, don't miss the opportunity.
But what about, Aleeza, when they're dating, right? When they're actually going out on dates, and then the girl waits for the boy to reach out again, and what is your view on that?
So, right. So that's a different stage. This the first question was really about, at the very beginning, or even to ask somebody out. Once you're in the dating phase, we need to get past the initial buy-in, and I would rather have his buy-in more than her buy-in, because if the buy-in has to be balanced, I'd rather him be bought in more than she's bought in.
Meaning what?
Meaning that he has more interest than she has. So I would rather see him ask her out at least the first few times to keep it going, rather than her chasing him.
Uh-huh. Do you think that there should be easier guidelines in terms of timing, right? Let's say a girl goes out with a guy the first night, and then she sits and waits and he doesn't respond till, let's say, do you think that there should be more that shatrins or whatever should be saying, telling the boys, it should be within a certain period of time, don't wait, right?
Right. I prefer that somebody will get back to somebody by the next day, noon-ish, right? If we go out on Tuesday, by Wednesday by noon, I'd love for them to get back to the shadchan or back to the person and either, confirm, move on and go ask them out again, or say, this isn't going to work. Sometimes as things get that's in the beginning, we want to keep a little momentum, because otherwise in the beginning you lose momentum and the whole shidduch is off anyway. But once you're into it after a couple of dates and there's some momentum going, but now you're just not sure and you might want to end it. My rule of thumb is when in doubt, go out. If you're just not sure, then just go out. If you're like, I'm debating, go out, you'll gain more clarity. If it's not for you, you say no, you walk away. And if it is for you, you can continue. But so it might take a little bit longer after the first couple of dates. But in the beginning, I like to see momentum. Without momentum, even if I had something that I felt towards you and it was positive, because you're not returning that interest, then all of a sudden, right, I turned off. I don't think you're interested, so I guess I'm not interested, so I'm out. But it's not that I'm not interested. I just didn't want to be rejected. So it turns into a psychology game and not into dating and trying to figure it out. And at the same time, I just want to say the whole, meet your person, get engaged by date 10. For anybody who struggles with anxiety, depression, has had previous trauma with relationships or other challenges or a whole slew of things, they cannot do it in 10 dates. It is really disturbing to their mental stability, and it's a really bad idea. There's fewer people that can do it well in 10 dates, and the majority of people really, really can't. It's way too much pressure. And I think that if we just slowed it down a little bit, they would have an opportunity to date more. Yes. Does it go on a little longer? Yes. Everything causes heartbreak, so it doesn't matter. But people make a lot of mistakes when they rush. They either rush and they end it, which is a mistake sometimes, or they rush and they seal the deal, and that's a mistake sometimes. And so we need it to be the right timing. And I like the formula of 10 dates engagement. It's a nice, okay, but most people are going to need 15, some 20, it depends on the community that you're in, and the more modern community, a couple months out.
And what about, let's say you're dating, what advice do you give to the boys and girls? There's a lot more questions, but what advice do you give when one of the dates is not so great? So they've had some good dates and then one date is not so great. What's your advice?
Right. So overall, let's just say you're going to go out 5 times. Okay. So date 1 is okay. Maybe even date 2 is okay. Date 3 is lousy. And now you're like, forget it, I'm going to dump them. Okay, but you had 3 dates and 2/3 were good. So if we go out 4 or 5 and we add up all the hours all together that we've been 2 or 3 hours, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 hours that we've spent, 20 out of 20 hours, if I had 1 bad date or 2 bad moments, that's normal. That's called life. Right? Do I
Right.
like the human being? Do we have similar values? Do we have similar life goals? Do we want to raise similar families? Yes. Did we have a problem? Great. Did you overcome it? Did you guys fall down and pick yourselves back up? Were you able to successfully navigate a challenge? Great. I don't mind those things. I just want to make sure that they have enough in common to make it work, and that the things that bother me or the fears that I might have, anybody has relationship fears, that I'm not being heavily triggered by somebody just like naturally who they are.
Wow. Okay, so I see there's a whole bunch of people who have asked questions on the chat. Do you see this? So
Yeah.
somebody asked, can I ask a personal question? Of course you can. Of course you can ask a personal question. And then somebody said, how do we deal with singles with learning disabilities, mental health, or chronic illnesses without lumping them with others exactly like them? Like only goes with like, especially with men who are trained to expect a perfect, totally efficient wife partner. How can we teach daters to look past the package they see they have, challenges, but see the overall personal midos of the person without prejudging?
Okay, so when there are learning disabilities or mental or health or chronic things, that's, by the way, a very large range. Learning disabilities is on one category, mental disabilities another, physical disabilities, everything has its own thing. Yes, like matches like on one hand, because hey, I can understand who you are and where you come from, and that makes sense to me. And on the other hand, a lot of people say, well, I don't want somebody like me because I'm like this and I need somebody to balance me out. So what I would ask is, what do you bring to the table for that other person? Who are you? What are you offering, right? What's your greatness? Where do you shine? We know where you lack. We all have lackings, no problem. Where do you shine? What is the wonderful thing about you that makes you a great life partner? And then let's match you based on that and find another life partner who's open to saying, well, I have my thing, you have your thing, and we can make this work. So, I don't like when people put people in different boxes. Sometimes people that are neurodivergent, which is the modern term for on the spectrum. Some will say, well, I don't want to date anybody else like me. I want to date somebody who's not like that. But we've seen all different types of couples come together. So really you have to know a person well, and you have to choose their like partner. So we're not, in terms of not prejudging, it's not about judging. We're not God. So we don't know what Hashem has in store. And we know that matches are here to be made. We do need to make smart matches. We do need to look for similarities in, again, values and lifestyle and those things. So it's more like you're more than your disability, whatever it is. And who else and what else are you about? And match based on values. That would be the first thing. Match based on values. And also if somebody dealt with or had a traumatic experience, don't pair them up with somebody who's suffering with the same thing.
Wow. Okay, so then someone asked, what do you recommend to a woman in 50s divorced? What's the best way to meet?
So I really like networking. Networking meaning whoever you know,
Right.
share with them what you're looking for, what you're looking for, not what they think you want, what you're looking for. And everybody's going to tell you, oh, I don't know anybody. If I knew anybody, I'd help you. But I would slow people's brains down. Everybody knows somebody, and everybody meets new people at work, in the supermarket, walking on the streets, in shul, all the time. We are constantly meeting new people. And I would just say, oh, you don't know anybody from me? No problem. Do you know one other person that you could intro me to that might know like-minded people? I have these hobbies. I have these interests. Do you know anybody like that? And get a referral to meet a new friend of a friend and make a new friend and see if they have anybody in their circles and see how you can help them. Maybe not with matchmaking. Maybe you can help them get a job. Maybe you can help them something with their kid. Who knows what you can do? We're all here to help each other. But I like that we network and we expand our circles. And also I would tell you, go visit different communities. So if you're in New York, hit up somebody in Jersey or Philly, or go to Boston, go see a friend or family member somewhere else, go visit that community and just look around and see if there's anybody, not single, just anybody that you might want to talk to that looks like you would resonate with them. And if you have a connection that you could talk to them, maybe they might also know somebody for you. So networking would be my strongest way of saying what to do.
That was unbelievable. Okay, someone asked, may I ask about self-awareness? How large a proportion of the shidduch crisis is contributed to a lack of self-awareness? How do you create or encourage more self-awareness?
Self-awareness, I think, over the generations, I kind of think we've always struggled with like, who are we and where do we fit in and all of that. Probably more so today, again, because of technology expanding what we see and what we know. And now that we know so many more things, it's like, oh, am I like this? Am I like that? And we're always looking to learn more about ourselves. But I break things down into 3 categories if we're talking about matchmaking and self-awareness. Number 1 is qualities in the person. So what are the values? What do I want in life? And what do they want? And also personality. How do I behave? How am I experiencing the world and you as well? And how do we interact together? And are our values and are our personalities aligned, or do we tend to like keep clashing? Now, there's always an amount of conflict and challenge in a relationship, but overall, our values and our personalities have to be in alignment, in harmony. They have to be in sync or it won't work. At least 70, 80+%, we really, really need to be in sync. If our values are aligned, then it's worth seeing all of those things that we have, the fears, the traumas, anything from our past that comes up. How much does that also create friction in our relationship with the person? So if I grew up in a house where people were yelling and screaming, and I'm just very sensitive to that, right? And I meet a loud Sephardi guy who's just running around, right? It's just normal. His volume is loud. So he has 3 volumes: loud, louder, and yelling. But that's normal, right? It's not offensive. It's just normal, right? But for me, if that's my history, I'm not going to be able to tolerate that in a relationship. So making sure that the things that I might be sensitive to, you're not setting me up with somebody who's constantly going to be a trigger where you're like, oh, just deal with that. You'll just have to deal with that. Certain things I have to deal with, but certain things I cannot deal with. And in general, if our values are aligned, it's a good match. But if our fears don't work, it could break the match. So you want to make sure that both of those things are aligned. And then there's bothers, those specific things that irritate me about you. And I just have to know that like, they bother me. This is not why I'm marrying you. I'm marrying you for all those other reasons. I'm just going to live with you because that's what comes with the package. I don't like some of that wrapping, but it's okay because I like what's there on the inside. And we all have those things.
Okay, the person who asked, if you don't have to say your name if you want to ask that personal question to Aleeza.
Oh, they can personally message me or personally direct message you, and then you can read it anonymously. And I don't know most people here, so the name won't mean
Okay, so
anything.
do you want to send it? You want to send it directly to me on the chat, and then I'll just read it out. Is that something you would like to do to get your answer?
So while they're doing that,
yeah, she's doing that.
Okay, while they're doing that, the next one is about statistics on people from divorced parents and background. Do I know the statistics? I don't know specifically about the parents being divorced. Well, I think that seeing a relationship that was functioning and healthy that, kind of fell down and got back up is a healthier example. But I do know that if somebody's divorced once, like the likelihood of them being divorced again, goes up. So we have like a 50% divorce rate in the secular world. In the frum world, it's closer to 20%. And then it raises up in the secular world, it goes to 67% divorce rate second time around and like 87% the third time. Although I've seen many people happily, healthfully married 2 and 3 times. So it doesn't always translate. But I think what you're saying is, are there challenges? There can be challenges. It just depends. Did somebody learn from somebody else's mistakes and is somebody wiser because of it? Or do they not really have enough positive role models and examples? And so therefore they won't know what to do or how to lead a healthy marriage if they haven't seen it. Like there was one woman, I said, who's a positive, healthy role model for marriage? And she said, what do you mean? I said, who in your life? Parents, anybody. She said, everybody's divorced. I said, everybody up, down, and sideways in the family tree was divorced. I said, okay, no problem. How about friends, community members, other people, community leaders? Who else do you have? She says, well, my rabbi and rebbetzin, they're married. I said, are they happy? She said, yeah. I said, spend time with them, get to know them, look at what a healthy marriage is, and know what you're striving for, because right now you don't know what to strive for. And that was something that she did before she really started dating.
Oh, that's amazing. I want to ask you one more thing before she sends it to me, Aleeza. What would you, in your opinion, as a matchmaker, as somebody who's dedicated their lives to creating families, and I know how much you feel so dedicated to this unbelievable mission of yours. And what would you say? Why would you say that there are so many girls and boys in their 30s and 40s today, more than ever before, that are not married?
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a different opinion than the rest of the world. Everybody else likes to talk about the shidduch crisis, and that's not, I don't like that term. It irritates me to the core, if you'd like to know the truth. What I really believe is that it's an education crisis, because the world believes, and the Jewish world now has bought into this, that we must have education and higher education and higher education and a job and stability and money and a plan and an everything before marriage. And
Right.
all of that comes after. All of that comes after. Go find your life partner, then go build yourself. What do you need the money for? You don't even have a family to support, right? You need to go find your person. It's the hardest thing to do. Getting a job, you can get a job. You don't like a job, you can change your job. You don't like your education, you get a new education. You want to do that with a spouse? Not so easy. So not prioritizing education and not weighing education as the core belief, as like the thing that makes the human being a great human being, is something that I think has ruined the shidduch world. Because whether it's, and it's not just higher education, also yeshiva, like there's a certain length of time, like we have to keep going and going and going and going, and it's not enough. And if you didn't do this, whatever this is, then you're not qualified and nobody wants to date you. And I think that's a problem. I don't like that the degree is the stamp of the quality of the human being. I know so many people, wise, successful, very financially stable, not more than stable. They're doing better than 87% of the people in the world. And they didn't go to college, they had a hard time graduating from high school, and they happened to be one of those, ADD people that just like, boom, built their own thing, and they couldn't do school and it wasn't for them, or they couldn't sit and learn, it wasn't for them, but they're highly motivated, highly driven, highly successful humans, and they're not being given a chance. They're being overlooked. And I think education has gotten in the way, and everybody has been pro-education. We've got books, we've got a printing press, we've got schools, go. That's not what a community should have. The very first thing that we're supposed to build in a community, it's not a synagogue, it's a mikvah. We're supposed to build a mikvah in our communities. Before anything else, we build a mikvah. We don't build a synagogue, and we don't build a school. Those are not number one. Number one, build a mikvah. What does that tell us? Build your family first before anything else. Build your family. Have a plan. You want to be educated, you want to do your thing, fine. Make a plan. Build your family. That should be number one. Focus on that. It's the hardest thing to do. Get that right, everything else you'll pull together with your spouse. You'll grow together through it instead of independent, 25, 26, 28, 32, 37, independent. And now you're going to come together. I got married at 25. My husband had just turned 36, right? We had a 10-year age gap, and I was, figuring myself out, and he was already working hard. He said he didn't live alone. He always had roommates. Why? Because he said, I don't want to be too independent. Why do I need to practice being independent when my whole life is going to be spent living with other people? I need to practice living with people. So he didn't bother getting an apartment on his own, living on his own, doing his own thing. He was always living with people and always practicing that. And we don't do that. We believe modern day, and it's not we, it's the world believes this, and we got sucked into it, in independence. And Judaism, we're not about independence at all. We're about interdependence. It's not codependence. We're about building a community together. Dafka,
Right.
you shouldn't just go live on a mountain alone. It's not the thing to do in Judaism. Kehila,
Right.
our community, is the foundation, and a mikvah is at the center, which means a family is at the center. So I just think that the world shifted our priorities, and if we just realign ourselves to Torah values, then we will be in alignment with what we need to do.
So I'm going to read what this personal message. She wants your advice. And I just want to say, I got married. We both didn't have our educations. We didn't yet. We did it all together. We started with nothing,
Right.
and we did it together. And you didn't think otherwise. You didn't.
Right.
So the person writes, I was in a very intense relationship that was close to marriage, but we took a long break because of me, she's saying. And he then decided no. I tried to reach out once, but I keep holding myself back. Now I want to reach out after a break, pause, end. We have good connection, but was too traumatized to say yes originally. This is her. I guess she was too traumatized to say yes originally. I don't know why I'm so afraid to reach out and feel I'm not allowed. I don't know how to break free of this lock I'm in. I can say in person, I also feel very heartbroken and I don't know how to overcome. How protective do we need to be in relationships? Are there possibilities to keep secrets? How does one maintain your own happiness? Okay, no. So the direct message is that one. So, and then someone wrote, how does one maintain your own happiness without worrying about someone else to make you happy? Whoa. So that's the story.
The first one, I want to just clarify your understanding of this. It sounds like they dated for a while. She pulled
broke
back,
off.
right? She broke off, and
then
now
he said, right, they took a break. She
said
went
no.
back to him, and then he said no.
But he's
Now
still not married, and she's not
Right.
married. They're both
Right.
available.
Now she wants to reach out after a break, pause. She says we have a good connection, but
Right.
I'm not sure who was traumatized to say yes originally. She was too traumatized to say yes originally. I don't know why I'm so afraid to reach out and feel I'm not allowed. I don't know how to break free of this lock I'm in. I can, right. But she is heartbroken. She's heartbroken over this. So she does want to be with him, but she doesn't know how to do it.
Right. I would write a very composed message, like a thoughtful message that you could send to him. If you want to send it to me, I can give you my email and I can just review it. But just so you have the concept, be authentic, right? So you want the letter to say something like, I wish that I could have moved ahead then, but I couldn't. Not because of you, because of me. Everybody has stuff. I had my stuff and I was working through it. And we took this time apart and I've been working through it. And I've come to a place where I can move ahead and I care for you. And I know you care for me. And I know I hurt you. And I'm sorry. Sorry that I hurt you. That wasn't my intention. I wish I could have done something different. And I am open to revisiting. And I know this might be hard for you to say yes to revisiting, but if you would please consider it, I would really appreciate that.
But also, Aleeza, she feels that she's stuck a little bit. She is stuck in the fear of breaking free of actually, she's heartbroken over him, but she somehow, I don't know. I don't know.
The problem is that she's not all in. Even if he says yes to her tomorrow, then she's going to go back. No, as soon as he says yes, she'll go back to no, and then she'll question it. So she needs support to talk it through, walk it through, and work it through. And there's probably something that's coming up for her that either it's a past trauma, which usually it is, or there's something specifically about him. If it's not specifically about him, then it's about her and a previous something in her life that is preventing her from moving ahead, whether it's with him or anybody. That's something that she has to clear. And I wouldn't go back to him unless you're ready for yes and to move ahead wholeheartedly without pausing, because he won't be able to emotionally tolerate a second time being turned down. So her yes has to be a solid yes without hesitation.
I just want to tell you that I love you.
I love you too.
Aleeza, this was so amazing. This was you were so brilliant and so open and so giving. I can't tell you. And just, you're just amazing. And I know how much you feel about this journey of yours.
Yeah.
And I know how much you feel how you're on this mission for HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Jewish people. And I got to tell you,
the problem, I can't, everybody's like, but why do you keep doing this? I was like, you know, it's like batteries, but they're supercharged and I have 3 speeds. It's fast, faster, and lightning. It's like, you ask people, I hardly sleep. I sleep only because I have to. If I didn't have to sleep or eat, I would just keep doing this because it would save time so I could get back to doing what I really need to do. I can't stop. One more thing on that note is just, we didn't answer this question of how protective do we need to be in relationships? Are there possibilities to keep secrets and to maintain your own happiness without worrying about somebody else to make you happy? So number one, it's okay. When you get on an airplane, what's the thing they do when they do the whole thing? Put on your oxygen mask first and then help your neighbor. Okay. You can't help them if yours isn't on first. Yes, you must make you happy. This part of the relationship, you have to be happy. Then we have your person, the 2 of you together. So we have 2 circles like this and they overlap right here in the middle, right? Okay. So in the middle, you can work on making each other happy, but first you both really have to bring your own joy out so that you're a happy, healthy human, whether they're happy or healthy. Okay. But you're happy, healthy. Now you have the ability to help them to tap into that happiness and that health as well, and to have something that you have together. That's number one. And number two, in terms of protective or secretive or things, I'm not a believer that you must tell your spouse everything. There are people that say like, we talk about everything. And I was like, I think you're breaking the laws of Shmiras HaLashon. Like, what do you mean you talk about everything? You can't. You don't have a right to talk about everything. Like, not everything is permitted to talk about with each other. And I think there are certain things that within you can be, oh,
1 second, I'm just gonna, 1 second. Go, 1 second. Yeah, go ahead.
you can be completely one and connected to your spouse, but there are times when it's not appropriate. My husband, everybody says, oh, you know, like, don't tell your husband this or don't tell. I'm like, what are you talking about? He not only doesn't he want to know, he's like, it's none of my business. None of my business for you to tell me any of this. You had a private conversation with somebody, that's private. I'm not privy to that information. That's not for me. So no, I absolutely do not think that you should tell your spouse everything, but the language of keeping secrets, is it something they need to know or it's not? If it's not something they need to know, it's not a secret. It's just information that's not necessary for them or the relationship. Does what you tell them help your relationship, bring you up, advance you, bring you closer, solve a problem, do something good for you? No. Does it bring your relationship down? It might be unnecessary information. And make sure it's information that you're permitted to share, because not everything that you want to share, you need to share with him. You might need to process with somebody, but not necessarily with him. And my husband, in the beginning of our marriage, I'll tell you one more thing. My husband, you can tell my husband's very wise. He got my number. He said to me at one point, he's like, I'm not your best friend. And I was like, what? Like, of course you want your spouse. We should be best friends. He's like, no, I'm not your best girlfriend. You should have your best girlfriend, and you should have your mentor, and you should have your therapist, your coach, your whomever you talk to that you need. I'm your husband. I have a different purpose in your life, right? I'm your soulmate. We have different work to do. I'm not just your best friend. We have a different thing. We have a different type of a connection, and we have to honor that and not just, and I'm not saying don't be best friends with your spouse. We play, we banter, we have a good time. But the point is that there are appropriate things to talk about with your spouse and inappropriate things, and you should balance the two. And it's not really secrets. It's not about secrets. It's about appropriate or inappropriate.
So before we get off with you, first of all, I'm going to gush, but besides the gushing, I got to tell you one thing. You know how everybody goes to these, like, you go to these day things, Joe Dispenza or all these different people that people are, I love him actually, but you go to all these people to, like, you should become the person that does these things in the whole, I'm telling you, Aleeza.
Okay, let's make an event.
You can change that whole world. I'm serious.
Done.
And all the singles, they need to hear you. They need to hear your advice. Marriages need to hear your advice. parents who are bringing up children need to hear your advice about marriages, and singles need to come together and hear your objective rationale, your very balanced way of looking at everything, your unbelievable wisdom. I'm telling you, you need to do this. You
Okay,
need
done.
to do this.
Let's do it. I'm here to change the world. We only have so many hours on this in this world. That's it. Let's go. No time to waste.
Aleeza, this was unbelievable. You're unbelievable. I don't even know what to say. It was unbelievable. And it was just, I don't know. I'm sure that everybody wants to tell you the same thing on this phone call. It was so like, it was like, not just like changing. It was like, you just put seichel back into everything. You brought it back to seichel. You brought
I
it
think
back
that's what we
to,
need. It's a balance of like the head and the heart. It's what we think and it's how we feel. And those are two things that
Right.
you cannot see. You cannot see your thinking. You cannot see your feelings unless you have a special lab where you can do those things. But to the naked eye, we cannot see our thinking. We cannot see our feelings. And we have to really work hard to understand. That's why understanding comes in, and acceptance. Understand who we are, accept who we are, understand who other people are, accept who they are, and understand our life circumstances and where we're at, and make a decision about where we want to go. And our goal is just to go up on the ladder. Wherever you're at, just take a step up. Just take a step up. Just take a step up.
Aleeza, what's
amazing.
the contact
Go ahead,
information? By the way,
Batsheva.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
thank you. This was truly, truly. I want to thank also Naomi. I don't know where she gets these amazing people from. I don't know what. I don't know. I was just telling my son. I don't know where she gets them from. She must have the best people on earth. Somehow Naomi finds and brings to all of us. And I thank you, Naomi. And thank you, Aleeza. You're amazing. I want to know what your contact information is.
Can we send that out? Because I think we're live on Instagram. and
So,
I'd rather-
so I did. I shared
Okay.
Batsheva on the WhatsApp group. I shared her email, and there's something else I'm going to share that she sent to me right before the class about her book, etc., and I will do that.
Yeah, so and the book just a little blurb, but the book will help you
Please.
if you're single or if you want to help somebody who's single. That's the benefit of this book, and it reads like a story. So you get to feel like you're reading a novel, but you're really getting lots of wisdom and tips and everything here. If you want to know what goes on in my brain, I put it in here. And I also have a program that's running starting in the beginning of Elul. It's called 40 Days of Connection. Wait, where's my tagline? Transform. It's really a good one. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you. Can't not take the opportunity.
Please.
Transform your love life with 40 days of connection, connecting with God, yourself, and your future soulmate. So this is an incredible program, and it's actually built for singles. I did build the married version, and I didn't market it this year. But if somebody wants to sign up and just message me, I'd like the married version, I'll give you access to that. But it gives you what to do every day, and it gives you a short little journal prompt, and with the singles group, a story, like a 2-3 minute video, an inspiration, something to think about. And it like resets the mind, it resets the heart. And we're coming up on the new year, and so it's 40 days from Elul all the way through Yom Kippur, and we like do it straight. You guys do your learning consistently also, and there's something very special about the consistency of it. And even I tell people, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do 40 days. It doesn't matter. If you do 10, it's a win. It's a huge win. So whether it's for you or somebody else, Naomi, you'll send that out, but it's on my website, marriagemindedmentor.com/40 days.
Amazing. Okay, so does somebody else want to ask something? I see somebody's unmuted. Does somebody want to ask, or it's okay? So Aleeza, I'm asking if people can just stay on. I'm gonna let Aleeza go. We're gonna do Az Yashir. That is really apropos for today. Ita, you want to ask something?
Yeah, I have in mind an initiative. If anyone heard of the Power of 8, also not a Jewish person, started, Lynn McTaggart. And how you were aware of it, Aleeza? The Power of 8?
No.
Okay. Basically, that you envision the person, let's say, whatever, my son, and he has friends, and we envision that he's already, has his shared, and we just send out intentions and feelings. She did the power of 8, starting with 8 people, but it's between 6 and 10 people, and they do it on a weekly basis to create that like a real on practice.
Go ahead. I'm good. Ita, by mistake, I meant to, Ita, come back. Ita?
Okay. So I'm asking you how we could start such an initiative, because it's very powerful. Her studies are like amazing, how people, it's like a boomerang. The person gets, that blessing from the people around them, and then a boomerang's back on the blesser. So
That's beautiful.
I don't know about that, but I have been giving, like, my name is Aleeza Bracha, so joy and blessings, which is very, very fitting. But I've been giving brachas for years. It's kind of a thing. I started doing it on social media consistently, and every time I do it, it's like a flood of amens and brachas that come back. And so I very much believe in the power of blessings and amen.
This is like group, making a group so that everyone has, like, they keep tags on,
But Ita, you can do that. Start some WhatsApp groups. Give different names, different things. I'm sure tons of people would do it with you.
That's
tons.
Good idea. Good idea.
I think it's an amazing. I think it's this whole manifesting thing that's going on that everybody talks about, right? That you imagine, you see already.
But the brachas and the power of amen is a really important part to that. Giving a bracha and receiving a bracha. People sometimes they give a bracha and they're like, "Oh, thank you." They're like, "Oh, have a lovely day." They're like, "Thank you." Someone says to me, "Have a nice day." I go, "Amen." Like, it's a blessing. You just gave me a blessing. Don't miss a blessing. So I think there's something very powerful in that. I'd love to see that started.
Wow. Wow. Beautiful. That's really gorgeous. Wow.
Greatly.
Okay. So we're gonna let Aleeza go, and I'm asking people, I know everybody's gonna start getting off really, really quickly, just to say Az Yashir, just if we can say it together. And then is Naomi still on? And Naomi will say the two, is Naomi still on? Yeah, she is. Naomi will say the two psukim from Miriam HaNeviah. So it's very apropos because it says to find your zivig. It's also for Parnasa, that Az Yashir is a very, very big thing. So I'm going to read it really, really quickly. Usually From It does it, but I don't think From It's on today. So let me do this really, really quickly. I'm going to take us off. First of all, I think we should all thank Aleeza, because this was unbelievable that she came on today. She gave us her time and she gave us her wisdom. And everybody can just unmute for 2 seconds and say thank you and ask Aleeza to give us
so much, Aleeza.
Thank you,
Naomi.
Aleeza.
Thank you so much,
Amazing.
Aleeza.
Thank you, Aleeza.
We want a bracha so that we can all say amen.
Thank you so much. May you be
So young and so gorgeous and so smart.
Aleeza, bracha, come on.
Aleeza bracha.
Oh, you need a bracha.
Yeah, come
Okay.
on, we want a bracha.
Okay. Okay. May each and every one of you who is searching for your soulmate, may you find it. May everyone,
Amen.
may everyone who is helping others to find their soulmate, may they do it with grace and ease, and may Hashem put all of the right words in their mouth at the right time to make the right shidduch.
Amen. Okay.
Hamavarach is barach, Aleeza bracha. You should make
Amen.
millions
Amen.
upon millions upon millions.
Amen.
Amen.